Welcome to episode number 2 of the Common Questions video series. My name is Jonathan Cheka, and today we're exploring the question, is the Bible reliable? Once again, we're not going into exhaustive detail, but just introducing some of the topics involved in answering these questions. Now, the first thing we need to do is get specific about the terms involved in the question, is the Bible reliable? If we don't get specific about these terms, we might realize halfway through a discussion that we're actually asking different questions. So, by the Bible, we're referring to the 66 books generally accepted by Christians around the world. This definitive collection of authoritative texts, also known as the canon, dates back at least as far as 367 AD, though all of the texts themselves were written by the end of the 1st century and were largely accepted by the churches by the end of the 2nd century.
That was a long time ago.
But what do we mean by reliable? What is the Bible reliable for, and how reliable is it? Well, that's what we're going to spend most of our time here discussing. One way to view biblical reliability is through what's called reader response interpretation. This interpretive method asks of any given text, what does it mean to you? Obviously, the answer will vary from person to person, but each person's answer is treated as true for them. So in this case, the Bible is always reliable, because what it means is what it means to you, and what it means to you is always true for you. This goes back to the postmodern view of truth we talked about in episode 1. But if that's where the postmodern view of truth leads, where does the modern view of truth lead?
You can't handle the truth!
Modernism's baseline assumption about truth is that truth must be verifiable by observable, preferably quantifiable, evidence. In the 1800s, people began to apply this standard to the reliability of the claims, authorship, and dating of the books of the Bible. But like we said last time, this standard produces great results in areas like biology, math, and astronomy, but it struggles in less quantifiable areas like history and literature. Very quickly, after this method of interpretation known as higher criticism came about, there were about as many theories as there were practitioners. Trying to prove the true statements in the Bible this way was like playing whack-a-mole while simultaneously assembling a puzzle on top of the mole holes. Before you could finish your idea, someone else had already published a revision to it. So in an attempt to reliably test the reliability of the Bible, the method of testing proved highly unreliable. Finally, let's look at what Christianity has historically held to, which is inerrancy. You might hear some people call this infallibility, and to add to the confusion, they might use these terms interchangeably or define them differently. For our purposes, though, we're going to define biblical inerrancy as not teaching anything false. That might sound simple enough, but when you think about 66 books written by about 40 people across hundreds of years, not having a single error or contradiction is pretty tough. That is, it would be pretty tough if it were only written by humans. But if they were guided by a transcendent editor, i.e. God, the task suddenly becomes much simpler because God knows exactly what he wants the Bible to say. This idea that God directed the authors of the Bible to write exactly what he wanted is called inspiration. So when we say that the Bible is divinely inspired, that's part of what we mean. But a full view of inspiration goes beyond just the authors of the text. It also extends to the editors, the copyists, the translators of the text.
It's really inspiring.
I'm not saying every translation is a perfect translation, but God's interest in clearly communicating his message didn't stop with the original texts. God is still working through faithful translators of his word today so that the gospel can be proclaimed to all nations, tribes, and tongues, whether that's Hebrew, English, or Luganda. So there's a quick overview of some of the topics involved in answering the question, is the Bible reliable? If you'd like to let us know what questions you think we should explore in the future, drop a comment below, like and subscribe while you're at it. We've also put together a limited series podcast. You can access that in the link in the description below as well. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.